let's talk about the differences between veterinarians and human MDs. And there are so many differences. We're both doctors, but there are so many things that veterinarians and human doctors do differently. I'm also going to get into the nitty-gritty of cost and money and how much veterinary school costs versus human doctor schooling. So when I think of a human doctor, I think of a sleek, clean-cut guy that drives a BMW, who lives in a nice apartment, who probably has no animals, who's very technical, and just like a human doctor. And then when I think of a veterinarian, I'm thinking of a Subaru, a GMC truck, the newest Dodge Ram so that we could put a couple sheep or goats in the back of the flatbed. And then I'm thinking cowboy hat, cowboy boots, maybe a cowboy accent, a rural type of person who likes farm animals, who has a ton of dogs in the house, cats everywhere. And that's what I think about when I'm thinking about a veterinarian. So they're both MDs, but the differences are hilarious. And when it comes to boundaries or lack thereof for veterinarians versus doctors, there's a huge difference. When you talk to a doctor, I feel like people are a little more respectful to them and they're not asking them to come to their house to catch a stray cat. Human doctors are kind of more reserved. They have their nurses call you and do things. Whereas a veterinarian, we're calling a lot of people personally. We're getting on the floor. We're getting scratched and bit by people's pets, anal glanded on. It's wild what veterinarians do versus what some human doctors do in my experience. I love this question. Is it harder to live on antibiotics every year when you're getting bit by cats and dogs? I don't know, what do you guys think? And then, is it harder to learn so many species and have to be able to treat all these species, whereas the human MDs, they just have to know the human body depending on whatever they specialize in. But you're probably thinking school. So the schooling, they're a little bit different, but both are doctors. So to become a veterinarian and a human doctor, you have to go to 4 years of undergraduate school and get a biology degree or a pre-medical degree to then apply to med school or veterinary school. So I personally just had to take the GRE. And I think a lot of vets still have to do that to get in. That was 8 years ago. So correct me if I'm wrong there too. And then my medical school friends that I was in the dorms with, I think they put all the biology science kids together. They all had to take the MCAT. And I know that was a really hard exam. Some of my friends, it took them 2 years to get a good score and then get into medical school. So I think it's definitely really competitive to get into med school too. But veterinary school, there's only like 30 schools right now. When I applied, there was like 26 schools. Now they're adding a couple more. And then medical schools, there's like, what, 1,000 or something? Do you think? I'm just kidding. I think there's like 200. Veterinarians, we have a 4th year, which is our clinical year. So the first 3 years, it's just like exams every week. I felt like I was just an exam, a professional exam taker. There were so many tests, like an unbelievable amount. And it's probably the same for medical students, of course. It's really hard, you're studying all the time. And then finally, those last years, you get clinical experience. So for veterinarians, we get to shadow different rotations, surgery, neurology, emergency rotation. And then after our 4th year, we go straight out into the real world practicing. And we might be the only vet in the clinic and have no help, no support. And that's pretty hard. So they expect a lot from you. And you got to know all the species, you got to know how to do surgery, you talk to clients, you're working really hard. And then the medical students, they have a residency that they go to and they get paid, I believe. You guys can correct me again here. They have a residency, they make money. And veterinarians can do that too. We can do an internship. And I believe my friends who did that made about $25,000 that year. That is like pennies. That should be illegal because you're making so much money for that practice and you're getting paid $25,000. And then the residencies on the medical side, my friends were making around $70,000 to $80,000 a year. That's not bad at all. We take the NAVLE, which is a national board exams. So that was super stressful. I remember opening my computer being like, dear God, I hope I passed this. And I did great, so I was happy. I know some people who failed, and you can keep taking that test. You have like, I think up to 5 times. Again, correct me if I'm wrong there. I've been out a long time. But you can retake it and redeem yourself. And then the medical students, they have like a medical licensing exams that they have to take. And they have a series of them. So again, I'm a vet. I don't know everything they have to do, but I know that both of the schooling is really hard. So you made it this far in the video. Now you want to know how much it costs to be a vet or an MD, and which one costs more, and then how much you make after that. So veterinary school, it's expensive. It is around $200,000 up to $400,000 to go to veterinary school. And it varies if it's in-state or out-of-state, or I went to an island school. It's called Ross University. These are for-profit schools and they're very expensive. And the fail rate is high. It's super intimidating. And then medical school, it's more expensive. So the numbers that I saw, it was about $280 was the lowest I saw, maybe for a public in-state sort of medical school, or even if you have some sort of scholarship. But it can be up to, again, $380,000 to $400,000 and more for medical school. And once you start to specialize, or if you go into residencies, then you're making money and you're still doing things. But the initial schooling, let's just say it's around $400,000 for both. And to put it in perspective, there are about 12,000 applicants for veterinary school a year, and only 28 to 30 schools accepting students. And then for medical school, there's about 50,000 applicants, and then those 200 schools accepting students. So it's pretty competitive. All right, so the veterinarians, when we get out, again, we make pennies, probably pennies like grinded by that machine that's like flattened as a souvenir. What are we gonna do with that? But seriously, when we get out, we make around 60,000 in some areas to 110,000 starting that year. So it depends where you are, it depends what type of job you want to get. And then MDs, when they get out, they step foot into a job, they can make 200,000 that year. Am I in the wrong career? But seriously, yeah, MDs do make more money when they get out. And then veterinarians, they can work their way up. So they can get to that 200,000 over time as they get more skills, they become more valuable to the practice. And then human doctors, though, they just keep skyrocketing, all right? They specialize. They can make up to 300,000 to $1 million. Neurosurgeons can make $1 million a year. And yes, to give them some more credit, they're saving human lives and taking care of a lot of humans, and they deserve it. Gosh, now that I think of it, no wonder the veterinarians are driving Subarus. Quality of life, that is a great question. So veterinarians, they work a lot, and so do the human MDs. It really all depends what your focus is and your drive is for your personal career, because you can work a ton as a small animal veterinarian. You could be getting up doing C-sections in the middle of the night, taking calls, doing emergencies, hit by cars. And then there's the equine veterinarians and the large animal veterinarians that do farm work, and they're getting up in the middle of the night to get a calf literally out of a cow. They have their phone on, they're on call, and they can go weeks with no sleep during the calving times or when horses are having babies. And then same for veterinarians during holidays when we're super busy. Things can get crazy. You're working 20-hour days. You do get exhausted, and finding that balance to eat right, exercise, and stay healthy can get super hard. And then for the human MDs out there, I know I've met emergency doctors and they look like a ghost. Like they haven't slept in years. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel so bad for them. And they're dealing with humans. I talked about animals, but I'm a veterinarian because I can't do human medicine. I don't want to see that. So it just depends how much of a mule you want to be in your career. So in conclusion, I think veterinarians have it a little harder to get this stethoscope. All the species, we literally get pooped on, anal glanded on. We have to wrestle animals. without their consent a lot of the times, muzzle them. We get bit. I don't see any human MDs out there getting bit all the time by their patients. I'm just kidding. They're both really hard. It depends what career you want to go into. I hope this video actually helped you guys. My rant about the two different careers and how you can grow in either one of them. Once you make it through those 8 years of school, like, the world is your oyster. You could keep going. You could be a specialist. You can keep making money. There's no end. It's all up to what you want to do in your life. So please subscribe to my channel. Comment below. I want to read your comments on this, if I was accurate at all. I know this was like a very informal video, but I loved making this with you guys. So subscribe. I'm gonna post a video every week. If you guys have any other videos you want me to rant about, again, comment that, and I'll see you guys next week.
So you're gonna do a career change after this?
No. I love being a veterinarian. There's nothing more in the world I'd rather do than this. I get to just see animals all day, puppies and kittens. It's one of my favorite things to be a vet. I would never give this up.
Thank you.